Okay, go ahead, Carter. What questions do you have for case 3?
Just 1 second. I have a little Google Doc. I just have to pull up for the questions that we came up with last night.
Yeah.
Case 3. All right. So going through it, I'll just kind of go through what we saw when we were going through. For the users, we're seeing a few users here. We're seeing Dunstan Electric as a company.
Yeah. So sorry, Carter. Let me first make clear, right? So if you have questions, I'm able to help you to answer your question.
Yeah.
But if you ask me for confirmation, so then what happened is I'm almost giving the answer out, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If you ask me, oh, here are the users, I identified, and then you are expecting me to say yes or no, that's just another way of me giving you the answer, right?
Okay.
So
just
I think that's probably against the purpose of why we have this case assignment.
okay.
So I'm open to any questions you have, right? So just to be clear on that, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's a question.
Yeah.
We're struggling to find the reason for the gross margin increase, and we're struggling to find why that's a significant purpose in the case. Do you have any tips
Okay.
or pointers based upon the gross margin increase? Because
Yeah.
we're struggling to see any relevance to that.
So yeah.
the
So what
case.
happened is, gross margin, right? You want to first understand how it's calculated, right? So you basically calculate the gross profit divided by sales, right? That's how you calculate gross margin. So then so basically sales minus cost of sales equals gross profit, right? If you have overstatement or understatement on the cost of sales, that's gonna affect your gross profit. That's gonna affect the gross margin, right? So you want to think about it. What are the possible situations that may affect the revenues or affect the cost of goods sold, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, that affects your gross margin. In that question, there are enough information, okay, to suggest you that something's wrong with your gross margin. Your gross margin is just not right. So in that case, there is the information to suggest you that gross margin is wrong. Okay.
So that means there should be the information to calculate the gross margin correctly, right?
There is either a direct message or there is some other information there for you to think, to compare. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. When we went through, we saw that it had a book net loss of 545,000. We just wanted to make sure that versus their placement costs. So would it be the insurance covers the net book value and not the replacement costs, correct?
Say it again.
When we look at the insurance,
Yeah.
we wanted to just make sure that the net book, or sorry, the booked that he booked a net loss of $545,000, which is the net loss of the building, but the costs of the costs were higher of the actual replacements. Do we use the net book loss when we look at that, or is it the replacements? We just want to make sure we think it's the net book loss. He's doing it correctly.
I think you are touching on the very important issues here, and but you probably mingle the two issues together.
Okay.
So, but what I'm saying are very important. Make sure you keep working on that. But I think you probably mingle the two different issues into one. Okay. So think clearly what is really happening. Okay. Is that only one account related, or there's more than one account related?
Okay.
So I think right now you are confused because you mingled too many things together on one thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we look at the financing in-house, it says 10% of sales cash loss. We're assuming that that's the cash. That's the 10% that's going to be lost in-house. Do we need to include that in the case, or because it's kind of like it only touches on that a little bit, right? So everything is recorded in the head office, but it says that there's a 10% of their financing is in-house, which would be lost with the fire, right?
10%.
We're just unsure how that affects the case.
Just give me 1 second. You are mentioning about 10% in-house.
Yeah.
How come I don't have it?
I'm
Okay,
just gonna pull up the case too.
I have to read the case. Okay, just give me a second. I'm gonna read the case.
I'm just gonna pull up the case too to find out where it is so I can
Where
guide
did
you
you
to the right
say
paragraph.
10%?
It says it's right below, it's near the end. I'm just gonna pull up the case so I can look at it. Just 1 second. All right, I have the case up now. Oh, okay, so it's trying to find it. It's in the sales. 10% of sales are financed in-house. So that is, we're confused at like what that means and like how that affects the fire. So could you just give us like a general understanding of like what that means?
Okay, so no goods were sold or received after the fire. The salespeople estimate weeks worth sale before the fire took place. Since the weekly update to main service lost 90% of sales was cash credit. 90% of the sales are on cash or credit card basis. For the cash and credit sales, bank deposit are made on daily or print out a web-based bank statement is made at head office to confirm the deposit information. The remaining 10% are finance. Oh, I see. Okay. So did you read that in the very end of the second sentence, second line, they say 90% of the sales are on cash or credit card basis?
Yeah.
Right? So basically, all the sales, 90% of that, the customer either pay credit card or pay cash.
Yeah.
And then 10% of the sales are financed in-house. So maybe what happened is, let's say you buy a furniture, right? You probably don't have the money, right? Or to swipe your credit card, but you can get a finance from the company, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what they're saying.
All right. And
Does
so
that make sense? You go buy furniture, right?
Yeah.
You don't have the cash right now, but you are able to buy it through the finance or via the furniture store.
So that would then affect the inventory that's there, right? Because if 10% of sales are financed in-house, would that be then recognized? I'm confused on how this affects the fire, like at what point does this, because it's included, everything here is included for a reason, right? So I'm just trying to
right? You think about in the real life, if you are professionals, your client doesn't know what information is useful, what are not, right? They will just give you everything.
Right? Okay.
So you have to be able to judge, to tell whether certain informations are relevant, certain information is not relevant, right?
Okay.
And if all the information are relevant, what are the most important information, right? So over the time, that's the scale you want to develop, right? Your client doesn't know, right? Your client is not a professional. He doesn't know which one is relevant, which is not. So he probably give you a lot of information, right? Turned out it's not that useful, right? So in this case, I mean, use your own judgment to think about whether that is relevant or not, the 10%.
Okay.
Yeah.
going back up to the net book value and fixtures, computer hardware and software. It says that the building or the net book value of the building, he says it's going to be covered because instead has a loss of 545,000 in the building for the year, but he doesn't include or the fixtures, computer hardware and software. We're just confused as should the building or should that fixtures, computer hardware and software be included or should it just be the building? Because it says in the insurance statement at the beginning, insure if the damage caused by the fire, inventory and capital assets were destroyed in the fire are insured. So the fixtures, computer hardware and software would be capital assets, would it not? So it would be insured?
Okay, so inventory and capital asset were destroyed, right?
Yeah,
I insured at their replacement cost, assuming that the replacement is of the time same asset if it's not unreasonable. Insured will receive the fair value of the building was destroyed, whether or not built. There's no business interruption in this. So you are asking about the computers, right?
yeah.
Okay, so I don't think that the insurance policy cover the. Did you read any information about that insurance policy cover the fixtures?
It only says insured for damages caused by fire, inventory and capital assets that were destroyed in the fire are insured at their replacement costs, assuming that the replacement is of the same make and model of the asset destroyed, or if no longer available, the closest substitute.
Mm-hmm. Just give me a second. Let me take a look, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just the building and the inventory.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the building and the inventory are the concerns for this. Yeah, I didn't see. I'm just seeing the map because the fixtures, because those are those fixtures, unless it's part of the number, the cost.
Unless it's included, yeah, in the net book value there.
According to record at head office, book value destroyed capital asset are as follow. Inventory. So the fixture, computer, software. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna read again, okay?
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the capital asset. So that should be also, they also should receive like the fair value, right?
Yeah,
Because that's the capital asset. Sounds to me that that should be also insured.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because you'd think if it was not insured, they would have to repurchase it, and then that would cause more expenses for them,
Mm-hmm.
which would drive down.
Yeah, so that should be part of it too.
Okay.
Yeah. But they will, I think, the insurance company will also cover not just the building, right?
Yeah.
Also the fixtures. What confused you is this sentence, right? The sentence is saying the insurance policy states that the insured will receive the fair value of the building that was destroyed, whether or not it is rebuilt, right?
Yeah.
It didn't mention the fixture, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that it's not including the fixture. It just like they further elaborate on the policies on the building.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we just have a couple more questions for you.
Okay.
So, surrounding the bank at the end, because it discusses, in the other, at the very end of the case,
Yeah.
does Dunstic Electric just refinance its operating line of credit? So what we were kind of thinking was like, maybe it was one of the largest stores and it burnt down. But then we're like, even if it was, it's one of 40 stores and it shouldn't reduce their sales by that significant margin to lose the bank. So now we're confused. How does this whole bank line of credit really affect the case? Like we just don't understand how this affects the case. Like why, what does the audited financial statements have to do with the fire burning down? Because the store is only 1/40th of the other stores, right? So it shouldn't affect it by that much, and the bank shouldn't be that afraid by one store going under.
So basically, this information is relevant, right? So the fire happened when the fire happened. The fire happened. Which day? Let me see. December 7th, right?
Yeah.
So that's when the fire happened. And so this information tells you that the refinance happened in November, right?
Yeah.
So first they have the refinance, and then they have the fire. Okay. As a result of this agreement, the bank now requires the audited financial statement for 2019 to be finalized no later than February 5th, 2020, right? And Jack was reviewing the draft financial statement and noticed the gross margin went up 6%. Jack believed the increase directly related to the sales. This other staff believe otherwise. They don't have much management information on hand to help them, and that's the reason for the increase. Okay. So the idea here, the most important information is about, it's not about refinance, right? It's about the bank now requires the audit financial statement for 2019 to be finalized no later than February 5th, 2020. That's the most important information, right? The refinance is just the reason why the bank have this requirement, right? So when you read this information, you want to know the meat, right?
Yeah.
They are really telling you that the bank now requires the audited financial statement and no later than this date, right? And why? Because they refinanced that in November. So I think you have the wrong focus. The focus should be on the second part of the sentence.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. And then I think that's pretty much it. I'm looking for anything else that we said we had questions for.
Oh, that's very good. You guys have a very good reading about it, a good discussion to come up with these questions. That's very good. That's awesome. That means you guys have spent time to really think through all this. Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all the questions. Ali, did I miss anything that we discussed about last night?
I don't think so. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, what about
so.
the what was it? The 500,000.
Which one was this? Oh, the book net loss? Was
The
that?
The demolition cost.
Oh, yeah. So we're looking at it, the demolition cost, right?
Okay.
Actually, do you want to ask this, Ali? Because I feel like you know more.
We were kind of confused, like with the demolition cost, where it says the 500,000, on if it would be something then that is going to be covered by insurance or if they have to pay it, because we know
You
like they'll
have
have.
yeah, sorry for interruption, Eileen. You are on
No.
track. That's a
Okay.
good question. Yeah. So I'm saying this is me helping you guys. The focus is on building and so my response, okay, here, I have almost a half page for the opening paragraph. I have 1 page for building. I have, let me see, I have half page for inventory. And for the other things, like the demolition site cleaning up cost, I only have maybe 5 lines of writings here. Okay, so I don't want you to lose the focus. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the focus is on the inventory and the building. So for the site cleaned up cost, you are on track. There are 6 lines of message dealing with this issue.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Well, that really helped us out. Like
Yeah,
that,
awesome.
that firmed things up. We know exactly what we're doing on this one, going through
Okay.
it. I don't see as much of a need to go through our previous one because our group members didn't really show up.
Okay. So
Um,
when you go through those rubrics, what kind of questions you may have? Like, first of all, this is the template, the response answers I have. So I developed into this rubrics, right? The way for that is give you the feedback, right? So you can see where you missed. When you read through that, does those points make sense to you?
yeah. Like what the only thing is like we struggle when we look through it,
Yeah,
being as we see the outcome that we should have
yeah,
and we see our answers, but it's the bridge to get to the outcome
Yeah.
where we struggle there.
Yeah.
And so we see, oh, we should have put that,
yeah,
but we struggle on going through the case and going, well, then how do we get to that answer? How do we understand that? How do we go through a case to find those answers? So
yeah,
I think it's just practice for us, like going through and
yeah,
keep practicing. We can
Yeah.
see a significant difference on this third case that like of what we've done in comparison to the previous two, just because like we have a further understanding of what we're doing. But I think it's just like when we go through the rubric, we're going, okay, well, we can see the answers, but we don't really know how to, it doesn't really teach us how to improve based upon it, right? Because
Yeah.
it's more so of right or wrong, less than gaining understanding on how to do it, you know?
Yeah. So first of all, this is something I can share with you, right? First of all, you need to know the basic structures, right? So the opening paragraph is always talking about who are you, right? And who are the client, who are the users, and their objective, right? So I mean, if you miss that part, then you just have some kind of structural issues, right?
Yeah.
And you should know that by now, right? So no groups should miss that part, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. You don't want to miss the structure, right? That's, you don't have to do 5 or 6 cases to know that, right?
Yeah.
So that's the number 1 thing. Second thing is to be able to identify the major issues, right? So you have to think about it. What are the major issues in this case, right? What is the most important issues, right? What's the second important issues? Focus on those, right? So for example, in case 2, there is this inventory error calculation, right? So I did give you the hint. I said that, you need to calculate the inventory error, right?
Yeah.
And did you take a look how much the points allocated to the calculation?
Tons.
Yeah,
right?
Because that's an important part. The inventory overstatement is going to affect your cost of goods sold, and that affects your gross margin, right? And that's going to affect the cash flow, right? A bunch of things, they feed into each other, right? So, so the ability to be able to tell, right, what's the most important things, right? And there, if you are presented with these numbers, right, you probably need to also think about what does these numbers mean, right? The quantitative type analysis sometimes, right?
Yeah.
How can you know gross margin, right? what other analysis you can do, what are the different ways, so you can compare, right? So those are the things, as you do more, that should become natural, right? And then sometimes students struggle with integration, right? So you can only see issues separately, right? You are not able to see how these issues are connected to each other, right?
Yeah.
And this comes with practice, right? Improvement. When I was a student in the CPA program, we have one module to deal with this integration, right? So you see two issues, right? There's the cash flow issues, right? The liquidity issues, and this inventory error issues, right? So when the inventory was understated, okay, so the cost of goods sold is overstated. But once I calculated the inventory error, right, so that will increase my net income, okay, and then I'm going to have to pay more tax, and that's going to cause more issues with the cash flow, right? Because I'm short of cash.
Yeah.
Did you see that connection?
Yeah.
Yeah. So often most students will just see the two separate issues, right? But the organization is one, right? So based on this experience in case 2, right? Maybe case 3, you should tell yourself, right, on the note, well, I will try my best to see connections, right?
Yeah.
And in the CPA exams, that is part of that reward, right? Sometimes there are competencies to see the connection, right? You have to be able to solve the issues wholly, what is the word? Holistically, what is the word?
Holistically?
Yeah, holistically, right? Not just, piece by piece, right? So this is the things you are learning, right? This is only you have only done 2 cases.
Yeah.
So if you don't see it now, not a big deal, right? Because you are learning. This is new things you are learning. Don't feel discouraged, right? The point is you're going to do more. And over the time, you have to improve, right? And eventually you are ready for the CPA exam, right? So just make sure you have a good read of the rubrics and try to think about it. Oh, how come I miss it, right? In the future, how can I, see the connection, right? Oh, maybe in the future, I should mark it down saying see connections, right? As one of the checklist point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess there's no easy shortcut. It comes with practice, right? With experience, you are improving, right? Yeah, and like this one, did you see the building and the inventory are the most 2 important things, right? You probably did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, right? Right away, you're having the right direction, right? So, and then all the detailed discussions would be, measurement, right? How much that should be reported, right? Those recognition that should be recognized, right? So basically, that's all the implications of all the chapters we have learned, right? You just have to be able to apply those knowledge into that context.
Okay. This was extremely helpful. Like
Awesome.
everything that went through here, like we have a firm grasp of what's going on here. I think we'll do much better on this one than the last.
Awesome.
Yeah, and hopefully it all comes together. We create a straightforward, consistent, and all like attached unit of a case this time instead of like a piece by piece.
Yeah.
I think.
Did you feel that you have learned something? You are progressing. That's
for sure.
Oh, that's good. That's the whole purpose of having this kind of case assignment, right?
Yeah.
First of all, it's a requirement by the school. Second of all, what if we don't have case assignment? Think about that, right? In this course, I give you, I get rid of this component. For sure, it's going to be easier on you, right? You may get, you don't have to spend this much time, but it doesn't help you in the long run, right? And by the time you are in the CPA program, you are struggling, and then you will complain, oh, guess what? At U of L, I was never taught on this, right?
Yeah.
Then and we do have students from other college, right? They have never done cases, and they struggled a lot in the CPA program, right? So I think students appreciate a lot more once they see the reality. For now, they just know I'm busy, right? I don't have time to do this. But until later, they will appreciate, oh yeah, I have learned a lot from this. So yeah, I'm happy you guys are spending the time and trying to do a good job. That's a good attitude. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Got to get going to other work now.
Okay. Yeah.
Never stops, eh?
Yeah. Never.
All right.
Yeah.
Have a
Andy,
great
do
rest
you
of
have
your
any
day.
other question?
Oh yeah.
I'm good. Thanks for spending the time with us after class.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, it
That's
means
my
a lot,
job.
thanks.
I'm always want to help you guys. But you guys, I don't push students. Some students don't like accounting. They are busy with other things. But if you initiate any conversations, I'm always available. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good
All right.
Take care.
Have a great day.
Yeah. Bye-bye.